Ever since I made a video suggesting that Chris Pratt's better for the Mario movie than Charles Martinet, I've been public enemy #1. I mean, hell, I can't even go for my morning jog without getting harassed by Sunday drivers. Now that we've finally gotten to hear Pratt's voice as our favorite Italian plumber, I've got to admit that I am a little bit disappointed that instead of getting a fun, stereotypical Italian accent, we just get Chris Pratt being Chris Pratt with the volume turned up to like 7. But even so, I still gotta stand by my original statement, and that I think that he's a much better choice for the role than Charles Martinet. But before you leave an upper decker in my comments, at least hear me out so you don't bring points up that I'm about to address.
Cameron, all one word. Cameron, danger. Oh no, it never fails. He'll take the clues and find the where's and why's and who's. Cameron, all one word. Cameron, danger. Cameron.
Okay, so before I seal my fate with what I'm about to say, let me make it abundantly clear that I love Charles Martinet as Mario in the video games, and if Nintendo tried to replace him with Chris Pratt or literally anybody else, except for maybe his father-in-law, I'd be right there in the foxhole with the rest of you. But for 90 plus minutes, I just don't think that Martinet wouldn't get old really fast is all. I guess it's just a matter of personal opinion, but when I pre-ordered my Wii all the way back in 2006, I got a pre-recorded message from Martinet thanking me for it, and while the gesture was definitely nice, it certainly convinced me that the guy's only a legend in short doses. Whether it be because you're a diehard Mario fan who won't accept anything outside of what you already know, or you genuinely think Martinet's an excellent voice actor with longer dialogue as Mario, I can't really argue with you if you disagree with me, but let's not forget that this is going to be a global mainstream movie, and I dare say that the average person would also get a little tired of Martinet trying to carry Mario's voice with heavy dialogue for a couple hours. Plus, if you get Martinet as Mario, then you also gotta keep him as Luigi too, and I know he doesn't voice every character in the Mario franchise, but could you imagine trying to watch a 90-minute cutscene with Bowser and Toad's video game voices trying to tell a story? Much like porn, Mario games never really exactly been about the story. I mean, hell, even the literal Mario porn has more story than any of the mainline games. Martinet's perfect for the games because he never really has all that much to say. His goal is to be as over-the-top as possible, usually only for like a second, and at most like one full sentence. Like, sure, SpongeBob's got a high-pitched, squeaky, over-the-top voice, and those movies are always a big hit, but the risk of digging myself 9 feet deeper than I already have, I don't think you can consider what Martinet does as Mario to be the same thing as what Tom Kenny does as SpongeBob. I mean, long before SpongeBob, Tom Kenny's been honing his craft as a voice actor for decades, playing a variety of memorable roles, whereas Martinet's just kind of been doing short bursts of Mario for decades. I mean, granted, the characters he's been doing are literally going to be the entire movie that's about to come out, but this is still completely different than what he's used to, and sure, he could perhaps be given a chance, and I'm not even saying that it's impossible for him to hit a home run or anything like that, but for a big-budget movie like this, it's probably not worth the risk, especially since people would just complain if he changed anything about his performance anyway. I mean, sure, Mike Judge, Trey Parker, and Matt Stone do most of the voices for the South Park and Beavis and Butthead shows, so they ended up doing most of the voices for the movies, respectively. But even so, they, along with Tom Kenny, still have way more experience with story-driven voice acting than Martinet. Hell, Sonic the Hedgehog's voice might not be as iconic as Mario's, but his voice actor is actually pretty qualified to pull a movie off, and nobody seemed to care when Paramount hired somebody else for the role. Besides, it's not like Martinet's gonna be completely ignored or anything like that. He's still gonna be in the movie in what I'd imagine to be a cameo role, which is actually why I think arguing for Martinet to be the real voice is actually pretty selfish. Sure, an English speaker like you might like it when you watch the movie in English, but if Martinet's not gonna be in a cameo role, then that would mean that literally nobody else in the world would get to hear the classic voice at all. And you know that Martinet is going to get a huge pop in the movie theater when he gets his moment to shine doing what he does better than anybody else in the world. So honestly, I think it'd be kind of lame to take that away from the rest of the world. One of the reasons why Mario games have always had little to no stories, so the games can be more universal, which is why everybody in the world knows Martinet's classic Mario voice. Like, I'm pretty sure the guy can't speak every language in the world fluently, meaning that anybody who doesn't speak English pretty much has no choice but to hear somebody else voice Mario anyway, so why take that away from everybody else, even if Martinet could crush a full theatrical performance? I mean, I guess Martinet could play Mario and Luigi in every language if he kept their dialogue to a minimum and only had them deliver their signature lines and mannerisms on rare occasions every now and then. But, like, that'd kinda suck. And again, though, I'm not saying that Pratt's the best choice in the world or anything like that either. Like, in my opinion, he'd be fine for any other character, but to not even attempt a stereotypical Italian accent's just plain wrong. Hell, he could have even thrown us a curveball and done an Indian accent and it'd have been better than Chris Pratt just being Chris Pratt. If I were involved in the production of the movie in any official capacity, I'd probably get fired and possibly even a restraining order over how persistent I'd be in trying to convince him to re-record all his dialogue. mean, Mike Myers originally recorded Shrek with his normal-ass voice and then realized it sucked and redid it in an Irish accent at no extra cost, might I add. Hell, Paramount redid Sonic's animation for the original movie after everyone saw how horrible the original design was, and they probably spent millions of dollars doing it too. Like, this might be anecdotal, but I actually watched two kids reacting to the trailer earlier today when I was waiting in line, and they seemed to enjoy it for the most part, but the older girl was disappointed at the lack of an Italian accent, and like, I'm sure they'll still probably go see it, but even so, there's just no good reason to take Mario that seriously with a voice role. Sure, I guess Jack Black's just Jack Black as Bowser, but I mean, default Jack Black, and hell, even Charlie Day for that matter, is still great for an animated movie, and like, yeah, Pratt's involvement will probably lead to even more people seeing the movie than even with just Jack Black involved, but even so, I'd still probably agree that a dedicated voice actor would have done a much better job as far as overall quality is concerned. I totally understand that the average person connects with an actor way better if they know what the person looks like, but still though, I definitely think it's a shame how underappreciated voice actors are. I mean, the Jujutsu Kaisen movie grossed over $30 million, and some of the voice actors on that only got paid a few $100, which is just flat out bullshit if you ask me, so I won't even argue anybody being disappointed over such huge, high-profile, big-break voice roles being given to actors who don't really need them. I mean, Chris Pratt sounded like he barely even knew what Mario was when he talked about how happy he supposedly was to get the voice. Hell, it felt like it took him 2 full Mississippis just to remember the word Koopa.
Man, I spent hours of my life stomping Koopas.
However, despite the fact that I will admit that I am a little disappointed in Chris Pratt's accentless performance, I'm still gonna stand by my original claim that he's better for the role than Charles Martinet, even if he might not be the best choice possible. But don't mistake my criticism for negativity though, I'm definitely excited for this movie overall. I mean, Jack Black seems like he's having fun, the animation looks solid to me, and if nothing else, it's gonna be a hell of a lot better than the first Mario movie, even if it's not as good as the second one was. So even if it's not the greatest movie of all time, I still think it's gonna be at worst decent, and honestly, I don't even think Chris Pratt's bad, I just think he could be a little bit better is all. While we may or may not see eye to eye though, I think we can all agree that the biggest issue in regards to the Mario movie is that Mario was given the Hank Hill ass, but then again, I guess Nintendo is kinda into nerfing asses these days, I suppose. Well, wait a minute, what's this? My unpaid intern's just telling me that we got a leaked video of Chris Pratt that apparently explains why Illumination was forced to remove Mario's ass.
You know, I don't want to sound like a queer or nothing, but I think you've got a really nice ass. Thanks. Sure, dude.
Well, I guess Chris Pratt was hired to be Chris Pratt after all.